go insane. Crumbling towers, streets in flames, forgotten heroes, who knows their names? Broken futures, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello friends, this is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's September 4th, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. Today, we're going to go over the People's Republic of China's concept paper proposal for China to lead one world government. And then we're also going to have Leo Zacky running for governor of California in 2026, this current election cycle. He shall join us in the second half of the show. So it's light on current news today. The feds are looking to mulling a ban on transgender individuals having the right to bear arms. That's out there in the news. Melania Trump at the White House launching an AI educational initiative. Bobby Kennedy Jr. when testified to the Senate, I believe, today. And we'll play that tomorrow. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have Ruckus on the show to co-host. And we'll get into all the news that we missed today. The genocide in Aardvark land continues there. It's quite horrific. On this day in history, a few notes. On September 4th, going back to the year 1882, Thomas Edison's light bulbs used to light up New York's Pearl Street. Edison lights up Wall Street on this day in 1882. In 1886, on this day, Apache Chief Geronimo surrenders, ending the last major U.S. Indian War. And then we're going to skip to this day in our civil liberties history. On September 4th in 1968, the CIA delivers Restless Youth report on U.S. peace groups. The CIA on this day delivered the fourth in a series of reports on the anti-Vietnam War movement entitled Restless Youth to President Lyndon Johnson. The report had been ordered by LBJ, who was convinced that the anti-war movement was supported by foreign governments. CIA Director Richard Helms told Johnson that spying within U.S. would violate the CIA charter and would be illegal. But Johnson ordered him to do it anyway for America. After the meeting, the secret CIA spying began on August 15th, 1967. None of the CIA investigators reported any foreign government support for the anti-war movement. The first three reports were delivered to the president on November 15th, 1967, December 22nd, 1967, and January 5th, 1968. The CIA spying continued and evolved into a larger program known as Chaos, which the New York Times exposed on December 22nd, 1974. Following the revelations and enormous political uproar about the CIA by the Times, then President Ford tried to head off congressional investigations by creating the Rockefeller Commission to investigate the CIA on January 4th, 1975. Well, I mean, if you have the Rockefeller Commission investigating the CIA, you damn well know we got to the truth and justice of the matter, right? Right. But the effort failed when Congress established its own committees to investigate the CIA and the other intelligence agencies. See, they're helping. They're So we got COINTELPRO, Operation Chaos, the CIA illegally spying and running psyops and black ops against American citizens who don't want to go die in illegal foreign wars of aggression. You see, and no foreign governments. Where have we heard this story before? Oh, Russia stole the 2016 election. Well, it turns out they didn't. Well, Russia, some foreign governments against going and dying in Vietnam. Nah, it turns out it wasn't. It was the American people and our own government committing crimes against us, violating our civil liberties. And don't think the same damn mindset in the government is alive and well today. America, MAGA, make America great again, right? Right. I hear that. And with that, well, let's get right to this. Let's get right to this paper. I'm going to read you the whole thing about China's proposal for one world government. Let's get to it, and then hopefully Leo will be able to join us in about a half hour, 20 minutes, something like this. Okay, here it is. This is via Simon. He sent me this link a few days ago, and I felt like today we had enough time to get to it. From the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, People's Republic of China, concept paper on the Global Governance Initiative. Background: the year 2025 marks the 80th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. 80 years ago, upon deep reflection on the bitter lessons of World War II, the international community decided to establish the United Nations, commencing a brand new practice in global governance. Over the past 80 years, the visions and practice of global governance, i.e., the international system with the UN at its core, the international order underpinned by international law, and the basic norms of international relations based on the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, have made historic contributions to maintaining world peace and development. The current international landscape is undergoing changes and turbulence. The UN and multilateralism are being challenged. The deficit in global governance continues to grow. The existing international institutions have shown three deficiencies. First, serious underrepresentation of the global south, the collective rise of emerging markets and developing countries' necessities, boosting the representation of the global south and redressing historical injustice. Second, erosion of authoritativeness. The purpose and principle of the UN Charter have not been effectively observed. Resolutions of the Security Council have been challenged. Unilateral sanctions, among other practices, have violated international law and disrupted the international order. Third, urgent need for greater effectiveness. The implementation of the UN 2030 agenda for sustainable development is seriously lagging behind. Issues such as climate change and the digital divide are becoming more salient. Government gaps exist in new frontiers such as artificial intelligence, cyberspace, and outer space. As a permanent member of the UN Security Council and the biggest developing country, China has all along been a staunch builder of world peace, contributor to global development, defender of the international order, and provider of public goods, focusing on a subject of our times, namely what kind of global governance system to build and how to reform and improve global governance, and regarding it as the fundamental guideline to uphold the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and practice the vision of global governance, featuring extensive consultation and joint contribution For shared benefit, China proposes the Global Governance Initiative, GGI, to promote the building of a more just and equitable global governance system and work together for a community with a shared future for humanity. 2 core concepts. Number 1, staying committed to sovereign equality. This is the foremost premise of global governance. Sovereignty equality is the most important norm governing state-to-state relations and the foremost principle observed by the UN and all other international institutions and organizations. The essence of sovereign equality is that all countries, regardless of size, strength, or wealth, shall have their sovereignty and dignity respected, their domestic affairs free from external interference, the right to independently choose their social system and development path, and the right to participate in, make decisions in, and benefit from the global governance process as equals. Greater democracy should be promoted in international relations to make the global governance system better reflect the interests and aspirations of the majority of countries and to increase the representation and say of developing countries. Number 2, staying committed to international rule of law. This is the fundamental safeguard for global governance. The purposes and principles of the UN Charter are universally recognized basic norms of international relations. They must be upheld unwaveringly. In emerging areas, international rules should be formulated on the basis of extensive consensus. International law and rules must be applied equally and uniformly without any double standards or imposition. The authority and solemnity of international law must be upheld. Major countries, in particular, must take the lead in advocating and defending international rule of law. Number 3, staying committed to multilateralism. This is the basic pathway of global governance. Multilateralism is the core concept of the existing international system and international order. The principle of extensive consultation and joint contribution for shared benefit must be upheld. Global affairs should be decided by all, the governance system built by all, and the fruits of governance shared by all. Practice of unilateralism must be rejected. The UN is the core platform for practicing multilateralism and advancing global governance, whose role must be enhanced, not weakened. Other global and regional multilateral institutions should give play to their respective strengths and play to constructive role. All discriminatory and exclusionary agreements should be avoided. Number 4, staying committed to the people-centered approach. This is the underpinning value of global governance. The people of all nations are the fundamental actors in global governance, and their well-being is its ultimate benefit. The global governance system must meet the people's needs and consistently foster their confidence and belief in a stable future in order to be extensively supported and effective. It must seek improvement through reforms in order to inspire among peoples of all countries a greater sense of fulfillment through accelerated common development, a greater sense of safety through more effective response to humanity's common challenges, and a greater sense of well-being through advancing the common interest of different countries and communities. Number 5, staying committed to real results. This is an important principle of global governance. Effective global governance is essentially one that solves real problems. Given the close links among various issues, global governance should be carried out in a more coordinated, systemic, and holistic way. It may address both root causes and symptoms to find sustainable solutions. It must both tackle pressing issues and take into account long-term challenges. Developed countries should earnestly take on their responsibilities and provide more resources and public goods. Developing countries, on their part, should pull together for strength and do their best for the world. The way forward. The GGI is another major initiative proposed by China following the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, and the Global Civilization Initiative. The CDI focuses on promoting international cooperation on development, the GSI on encouraging dialogue and consultation over international discord, the GCI on promoting exchanges and mutual learning among civilizations, and the GGI on the direction, principles, and path for reforming the global governance system and institutions. The four initiatives have their respective priorities and can be pursued simultaneously. They will each be a source of positive energy for a changing and turbulent world and impetus for humanity's development and progress. The quote, 5 core concepts of the GGI stem from the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and response to the shared aspiration of most countries. To reform and improve global governance does not mean to overturn the existing international order or to create another framework outside the current international system. Rather, the goal is to make the existing international order and international institutions better at taking actions, working effectively, adapting to changes, responding promptly and effectively to various global challenges, and serving the interest of all countries, particularly developing ones. No matter how the international landscape changes, China will remain firm in safeguarding the international system with the UN at its core and the international order underpinning by international law, stand firmly on the right side of history, and join hands with all progressive forces in the world to build a community with a shared future for humanity and make relentless efforts for mankind's noble cause of peace and development. We will uphold principles, embrace new ideas, stay open-minded and inclusive, adhere to the principle of extensive consultation and joint contribution for shared benefit, and work under the framework of the GGI with all parties to enhance policy communication and coordination so as to build effective consensus and enrich the methods and pathways for reforming and improving global governance. We will leverage the platforms provided by the UN, relevant international organizations, and regional and sub-regional multilateral institutions to take active actions with all parties and contribute our thoughts and energy to reforming and improving global governance. Priority will be given to areas where governance is in urgent need and scant supply, such as the reform of the international financial architecture, AI, cyberspace, climate change, trade, and outer space, and to firmly uphold the authority and central role of the UN and supporting the UN in implementing the Pact for the Future. We would like to increase communication and cooperation in these areas to build consensus, identify deliverables, and bring about early harvests. Humanity has become a close intertwined community with a shared future enhancing global governance is the right choice for the international community to share in development opportunities and address global challenges. China will strengthen joint efforts with all parties to explore ways to reform and improve global governance and open up a bright future of peace, security, prosperity, and progress. So there you have it. China's proposal for one world government, the Global Governance Initiative, GGI. What stuck out to me right here is they are essentially saying we're already under one world government, and they kind of blow their cover with all this sovereignty talk here. And without saying it directly, of course, they're addressing the United Nations and Aardvark land, who are going outside of international law, violating international norms with all of their activity, with the United States acting as the global hegemon. So it's clear who they're directing this at. For those paying attention, can the United Nations be reformed? I seriously doubt it. The level of corruption is otherworldly there. But as you see, China is firmly behind the United Nations, UN Agenda 2030, Goals for Sustainable Development. That is your one world government agenda. And what's the other one that they, where is it here? The Pact for the Future. I think we have covered that here before. But so they're fully on board with all of this. But let's just take a look at China's vision for the future. And again, this is directly pointed at the United States and Aardvark land, definitely, for their actions, ongoing genocide that are in Gaza, ethnic cleansing, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. So with that, as we await our guest, hopefully, let me try to fill some time up here for you. I did not, we kind of flipped the script and did it backwards, but let's take a look at developing news today. As we usually do, let's go take a look at the White House, what kind of propaganda they're putting out today. They're putting out, as I said earlier, the AI initiative has been launched by AI educational initiative has been launched by First Lady Melania Trump. I did see that a judge ruled that alligator Alcatraz can stay open as problems there of inmate abuse continue to trickle out, threats of bad weather, hurricanes, and whatnot in the first few months of operation of the illegal alien detention center known as Alligator Alcatraz. Also announced today, America and Japan have a new trade agreement, allegedly. Executive order. Trump issued executive order today, or it was issued a while back, but it's now official, apparently. They've signed the paperwork. And what are they saying here? The government of Japan has agreed to invest $550 billion in the United States. These investments, which would be selected by the United States government, will generate hundreds of thousands of U.S. jobs, expand domestic manufacturing, and secure American prosperity for future generations. But the problem is the job numbers are coming out and they're looking real bad. They're looking real bad. And so that's a problem. As we said, it would. Who's this Mr. Peepers on the YouTube? He says, one world government would suck. Come on, man. Don't you want one world government? Isn't that what we're all vying for here now? He says, I like the fact I can leave a crap country and get to a better one. If it's one government for the world, you would have no choice if you don't like it. Well, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's about the oligarchs' control of the planet and the resources. And you and I, Joe Blows, are considered resources, human resources. And if you haven't noticed, they're phasing us out, you see, because they've already announced humanoid robots, AI takeover, i.e. technocracy, you see. And so we're well on that way. We're well into the Great Reset, you see. And I would argue that we already have one world government, as evidenced during the medical intervention period, as the very large majority of governments all acted in lockstep, all the big players, America, China, Russia, go down the list. But we hate Russia, right? Well, we hate China, right? Well, we all got in line per Rockefeller lockstep. And so there's different levels. And at the very, very top level, man, we already got one world government. They're all on the same page, in the secret societies together, in the Freemasons. And that's a whole nother level. And then we have the nation state level where indeed, we will go to war with another nation state and kill off the poor. And they're happy to do it on whatever the other side is as well, you see, to population control, population, we got to control the population according to the quote elites. And then back on the ground level, is there any difference? I guess some countries are more free than others, but they're turning the screws right now. And at any time, as we saw, they can just declare an emergency. And where's your freedom then, America? There is none. As Trump dances around the idea of, rolling out the National Guard wherever he wants. Oh, it's a crime emergency. What are you, some kind of pro-crime commie? You don't want the troops on the streets in your neighborhood? Sound like a pro-crime commie to me. And we're like, but wait a minute. There's like laws, posse comitatus, like that's a definite sign of a police state with troops on the streets. And it's a slippery slope to where they can just declare an emergency over anything. And again, feds mole transgender gun ban. Well, next we don't like the color of your shirt, your hat, your political party. It's a red flag because you're deemed mentally unfit, because you stood up for transgender rights, or whatever they want to make up, man. Whatever they want to make up. And we're heading down this very slippery slope right now. Trump's DOJ considers banning trans people from buying guns. That's a headline out of the New York Post right here, because of this most recent alleged trans shooter, right? Minneapolis school shooter, alleged. Can we even believe any of this? Is this just all made up, a ploy for a backhanded, gun control? And they pick the groups apart here. And of course, all of your conservative right-wingers are going to cheer it on. Hey, we told you these transgenders are mentally ill and can't be trusted with firearms, you see. And so it's a very slippery slope. And I'm going to leave there because Leo has joined us here. And so we're going to segue to him. But let's go ahead, and we'll play his campaign video. This is Leo Zacky running for governor of California during this current election cycle. The election will be November of the next year, I do believe. And so let's play his campaign video, and then we'll bring him on and go over some issues here about California. God knows we're in bad shape here, man. So let's play his campaign video, and then we'll bring Leo Zacky on live.
They lied to you. They stole your money, your business, your future, and they call it progress. When I was born, California was a conservative state. Now, I'm in my 30s, and this is California. Burned to the ground. Either we wake up and take back our state, or we lose everything to corruption, globalist agendas, and government overreach. Why can't young people afford homes? Why are our farmers being strangled by water restrictions while California's reservoirs sit empty? Why do politicians protect criminals instead of law-abiding citizens? Why do we keep paying more for gas, electricity, and food while they live in mansions funded by your tax dollars? What the hell is a supermajority? I'll tell you, it's the reason California is completely screwed. A supermajority means one party controls everything. No debate, no opposition, no checks, no balances. Just corruption on steroids. The politicians in charge, they want you weak. They want you poor. They want you afraid. We don't need another weak politician making empty promises. I come from a family of farmers and business owners. My great-grandfather immigrated here and built Zacky farms from the ground up. For 90 years, we fed California. We worked hard. We built something great. And watched it get destroyed by overregulation, taxation, and all the government corruption. I learned business from the ground up. I know what it's like to fight the red tape just to survive. And I know how to fix it. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman, a farmer, and an unapologetic fighter for California. I don't owe anyone in Sacramento a damn thing, and that's why I'm dangerous to them. We the people must take back control of our lives, our freedoms, our government. The wasteful spending, the corruption, the lies. Enough. I have the solutions. I will end the homeless crisis. I will fix our water shortages with reservoirs and desalination. I will cut the taxes and remove the regulations suffocating our businesses. I will expose the corruption in Sacramento and hold these crooks accountable. We need someone who knows what it's like to fight, to work, to build something from nothing. They don't think we have the guts to take our state back. Let's prove them wrong. I'm Leo Zacky, and I'm running for governor here in California in 2026. Let's finish what Trump started. But first, we need to do one thing. Vote for common sense. Let's turn California red again. With action. With a movement. Because this isn't about left or right. This is us versus them. I'm Leo Zacky, and I'm running for governor here in California in 2026.
And here's the man himself, Leo Zacky. How you doing this Thursday?
I'm good. Appreciate you having me on. Man, I feel fired up from that video.
Well, I'm kind of sad, as I know you probably are, that Kamala announced last month that she won't be running in this current election for governor.
I'm upset. I really had some great stuff to knock her down with, because her and I got one thing in common, and that's the guy who cuts our hair. And yeah, no, seriously. And when she went over budget on her campaign, she didn't pay a lot of people, and one of those people that didn't get paid was our hair guy. And he was going to lose his salon because of it. And he asked me to borrow the money, and I said, no problem. We went down to the bank. I gave him the money, and I never have to pay for a haircut for the rest of my life.
Really? Kamala shorted him, didn't pay him?
Yeah, and she's been getting her hair done by him for probably as long as I have, which is over 10 years.
That's dirty, man.
I know.
That is dirty. She shorted a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm. And his business was going to fail because of it. So amazing.
I guess she's done. Who's the front runner Democrat? Is this Tony Atkins woman? Is that who it is now?
Yeah, there's a lot of different polls, and if anything, the 2016 election has taught us that polls don't mean a damn thing, and you can't trust them. So, and trust me, people can fabricate polls and put them out there.
Well, you gotta read the methodology of the polls to actually understand the data and statistics, and they never give you context.
No,
right?
I mean, have you ever been called for a poll?
I never have. No.
Yeah, me neither. So who the hell are they asking? Just the people in their office? They're like, hey, what do you think about this guy? And they poll like the 100 liberals that are there in the Cube Farm.
I think it did come out. Many of the polls are skewed Democrat. If you read the methodology, they do tell you, but no one tells. They never. It's just a splashes across the headline. Like I just saw one today that said Newsom is more popular than Trump now, because I don't know if you've seen our current governor, Gavin Newsom. He's an info warrior now. Started his own podcast. He's all over X.
Oh, let's not get the info warrior word mixed up. I'm an info warrior, brother. All right, I'm an info warrior. Okay, I'm all about, you know, what's the real truth. That he's just putting out nonsense.
Newsom's trolling everywhere, all over the place. He's a great patriot now, he says.
Oh, please.
And he says that, and he has this other troll account, Newsom Press Office. I don't know if you've seen it on the X, but they're getting pretty crazy with some of the stuff they're saying.
Well, they told the CEO of Bed Bath & Beyond, basically, go F yourself. We don't want your business.
They say that to everybody.
No, but they literally said that, like, with like full vulgarity out there. Go.
So they're on their way out anyway, so they don't matter. He's obviously prepping for a presidential run.
Of course, he's the big, brave governor that stood up to evil orange man Donald Trump.
He did.
He's wasting our dollars on it, too.
He saved America, or saved California, by locking us down for like 2.5 years or whatever.
Yeah, locking us down and burning us out and chasing all our big industries away. Chevron's gone. Oracle's gone. Tesla's gone. 99-cent stores are out of business. In-N-Out Burger packed up and left. And Zacky Farms is out of business after 90 years. And we were the largest privately owned employer in the state, and the largest organic turkey producer in the nation, and the largest.
Tell us about that. Was it bird flu?
No, man, dude, bird flu, actually, we didn't get affected by it because we had the highest quality standards when it came to biosecurity. So we were able to weather that storm. And that year we actually made good money. Unfortunately, our competitor.
So what happened? It really was state regulation and taxation?
It's a whole combination of things. And you got to remember, we're playing in a global economy here. California is the world's leading producer.
They always tell us now it's fourth, but I just saw India.
Oh, no way. There's no way that we're fourth. I hear fifth has been the standard for the longest time. The left is saying, oh, we're the fourth. I don't buy that for a second. Other people are saying we've slipped to the eighth. I'm just going to go ahead and roll with fifth because that's what it's always been. But look, the reality, again, that's polling for you, right?
Yeah. So, it's GDP numbers, but the government rigs the GDP numbers.
Of course, it's called cooking the books.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what they do. And look, we were abused by the legislature. Look, what made our company able to be successful was that things were far more fair and balanced and favorable to businesses, especially in agriculture here in California. And so we vertically integrated. We made the commitment to vertically integrate, which means we do everything in-house. So we milled our own grain, and we laid our own eggs and hatched our own birds and processed here and packaged here and did our cook facility here, had our own fleet of trucks. Everything was under the umbrella of inside California. And so when you have things like the California Air Resources Board show up and start dictating to you environmental efficiency emission stuff for your trucks, it wasn't viable for us to have our fleet of over 70 trucks anymore. So we had to sell them off and go to a leasing company, which was the next most viable economic thing to do. It was still more expensive than what previously was having our own fleet, but we had to move to that. So we had to lose our control over our logistics in that respect. And then the ethanol mandate that Obama put out, the price of corn went up 450%. We used to pay $1.50 to $2 a bushel. And then we started having to pay over $8 plus the $1.10 freight fee. And we're buying 3 train loads a year of that. So that was all our liquidity just disappeared like that. Then you have the regulations when it comes to expanding our operations. Like we had to go and buy the land and pay the taxes on it and apply for the permits and have all the people come out and CEQA and this and that just to get to the end of everything to be told, oh, well, somebody down the road doesn't want the dust or the smell. So you're no longer allowed to expand your operations here. So now I'm stuck with a piece of dirt that I've paid the taxes on, that I'm holding on to, that I can't use for this. Nobody can. So I have to find someone to offload it to. That's a process. That's money tied up. And then you have, the minimum wage increasing in 2016 by 50%, went from $10 an hour to $15. Most of our employees were wage salary. So, we're competing again on a global market. And
now we're at what? Is it $16.50 now, I believe?
It could be. Yeah. I mean, it's been going up. Here's the problem.
I know we're at 16 at least, maybe $16.50. I forget. And I remember when they signed the law, Jerry Brown was governor at the time, and he said, a direct quote, "This doesn't make economic sense," but yet he signs it into law. It's incredible, man.
So who are they working for, us or them? And so look, we had to put all these people out of business and out of work. Unfortunately, we had, husbands and wives and fathers and sons. And
Don't say you were abusing your workers there, Leo.
Are you kidding me? Our people loved coming to work. We made sure they had a great work environment. And like I mentioned before, we were the largest second chance employer out there. We wanted to help.
What does that mean, second chance employer?
Second chance. So people who were ex-convicts that were getting out of prison. So we gave.
And how did that work out for you? Did you ever have any issues trying to reform these ex-convicts?
No. We gave them stable work that made them, at the end of the day, feel like I did something, and they were doing something. It was important. And I know how that feeling can be when you work with your hands. Look, not every crime is a horrific, murder. Sometimes people do stupid things and, they go to jail and they do get reformed.
And as many laws as we have in California, you could go to jail for jaywalking just about.
No. Jaywalking's legal now. By the way.
Okay.
No, they actually, you can jaywalk. That's another thing that's happened recently. But look,
everybody go to check out leozacky.com, his campaign. Leo, let's go to all the issues you got on your website here. Let me throw it up there real quick for our audience to see. You got the major issues there. Let's just take them one at a time. Homelessness. Gavin Newsom promised, since he's been on the city council and mayor of San Francisco like 20 years ago, that he was going to solve the homeless crisis here in California. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And it's just throw $1 billion at it and it just gets worse. So what is your solution besides throwing $1 billion at it and putting on press conferences where you lie like Gavin Newsom does now?
Well, I've developed something called Homeless to Home, and I'm looking forward to implementing it as the governor of California. Right now, the state's whole hyperfixation is housing first, housing first. Well, I'm pretty sure everybody out there can recognize that it's a mental health crisis compounded by a drug epidemic.
And I would say the majority, very large majority of these people are on the streets because they're strung out junkies, and that's the lifestyle they want to live at. Because there's plenty, like here in Fresno, there's like the Fresno Rescue Mission. Right
there downtown,
you can go there and get shelter.
I was there just last week. I was right by there.
Right, you can go there and get shelter, but they have rules. You got to go in at a certain time. You can't be, drinking, drugging, this type of behavior. You can't be living the criminal street life behavior.
Right. So where do they go when they don't abide by those rules?
They go back to the street.
That's right. So as I was saying, it's a mental health issue compounded by drug epidemic, exacerbated by a failed education system. So we enforce our vagrancy laws, which gives us standing to remove them from the public spaces that they're occupying, and you get them into this program. And so they receive mental health treatment, they receive drug treatment, and they get on-the-job training. They're going to do work. They have to be able to function in society. So they get on-the-job training where they earn a living wage doing what they're doing. And whether it's in construction or agriculture or sanitation or in underbrush clearing and basic firefighting, they're going to do these things, which are going to help offset the costs. I found a company that makes these small modular tiny homes. They're 400 square feet. They take about an hour to set up. You can hook them up to water, power, gas, and sewer. And they're $2,000 a unit. We can pay the company. I've made a deal for $75 a month over 27 months to pay them off. And so you deduct that cost from the income that they'd get from performing the jobs they do, as well as the housing and the medical care and all that. So that money, they never go into debt, and that money goes into an account they can't touch until they complete the program. So when it comes to basic construction, they're going to help us build the reservoirs in this state. Give 10,000 people a shovel, they'll be able to dig a pretty big hole pretty quickly.
That's a segue to the water crisis. We don't have a water crisis. We have a water management crisis.
Correct. And so this is all part of this is helping build out the water.
But it is fun to drought shame people during the summer, right? I mean, we didn't. No.
So you could have gone to Mammoth and gone snowboarding this year into July, and last year you could have done it into August. So it's not that we're not getting the water. It's just
Leo, it literally will be raining, and Governor Newsom will go on television and do a press conference, say we're in a drought, and you're like, dude, it's literally raining, right?
Right, but we have to have the storage for it. We haven't built significant water storage in 50 years, but our population's doubled in that time. We've been approved for 50 desalinization plants. They aren't being. Some have been built. None of them have been turned on, and it's ridiculous. We need to use small modular nuclear reactors to power them, get them pushed through beat the, get rid of this nonsense Coastal Commission CEQA garbage, push them through. We need them activated, dam up our existing, concreted rivers in the major metropolitan areas, build purification plants there, have water reservoirs to capture the snowpack, use dams to build in the canyons along the Sierra Nevadas there, use hydroelectric power, create a water abundance so that we can then use it as a net revenue generator by auctioning off our lion's share portion of the Colorado River shed to our neighbors like Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Colorado. And we can do this monthly, quarterly, biannually, annually, and use that to bring in revenue into the state that's not coming from tax-paying dollars. So when the homeless are helping,
where are you at with the adding fluoride to the water?
No, dude, there's fluoride. The fluoride's got to go. Fluoride, all that chemical stuff, the fluoride hardens your pineal gland and it impedes your ability to have cognitive free thinking abilities.
It's going through Florida and Utah now have banned adding fluoride.
It's not conspiracy theory. It's fact. This is happening.
No, it is a fact. It's a big Harvard study said it reduces children's IQ.
Oh, tremendously. Oh, but it's for your teeth. Anything the government seems to do, they do a really poor job at it. I don't really want to trust them with my dental care. No, thank you. And I don't need their advice. They're usually way off the mark. So yeah, we're getting rid of fluoride. There's no doubt about that. We're going to have an abundance of fresh, clean water so our farmers can grow all the crops they want for cheap, and they won't have to rely on poisons like glyphosate to keep this limited amount of crops going. So we can have the most.
You're in the ag industry. Yeah. What do you think of it? Doesn't it feel like we just overuse all the pesticide and insecticide? You mentioned the glyphosate and the Roundup. Aren't we just like poisoned to death already?
Yeah.
Like we need to scale that back seriously, right?
Well, yes, but the farmers feel like they have to use this stuff because the water allocations are already being restricted to them. It's 1.65 cubic feet per acre. For citrus, you need 2.25 cubic feet per acre, and for almonds, you need 4.5 cubic feet per acre. So they're already not sufficient for the crops that they can grow on all their land. So they have to cut back on their crops. So they have to reduce the crops that they raise, and then they're limited with what they have. So then they have to use these pesticides and herbicides to keep those plants, protected from the other, elements. So that's why they're using these products. If they had the water in abundance, they wouldn't have to require that. And we could have organic crops in abundance that we could then create more jobs with and have more exports with that will bring way more revenue into the state.
Education, your next one. I'm here in Fresno County, and it's like we have the worst education here in Fresno County, like west of the Mississippi. It's constantly being reported like they can't even read or write. They're illiterate. Basically, the poor students here in Fresno school district.
Well, we need school choice. Obviously, this woke CRT stuff has to go. We need to have real competition. I want the money to follow the students, and I want the parents to have the power. They want to send their kids to a religious school, a public school, a private school, a charter school, homeschool. God bless them, do it. But that competition, when that money is now dependent on their performance, is going to get people to really step up their game and cause a cascade of increased education for everybody. We need to focus on vocational skills as well. I want kids learning shop class and home ec and actual civics so they know how government's supposed to run. They know the difference between a Phillips and a flathead screwdriver, real history, not revisionist 1619 nonsense. I want them to take pride in this country, learn how to balance their checkbook, so they have finance under their belt before they even leave to go to college. But I want to also develop a technical school, a vocational school under the UC system that we can also have scholarships available for.
How about making college more affordable? Because this California UC system, if you want to go to any of these big,
I really want to
like Berkeley, Stanford, some big prestigious university, it costs so freaking much. You got to go into debt. And then it's creating this giant student loan debt crisis.
Yeah, these student loans are predatory and they should be illegal. I'm not a fan of them. And I really want to put an emphasis on California students getting scholarships and admission to California schools first. I know that the entry.
Are they still doing the thing where illegal aliens get free, I believe, at least community college, right?
Yeah, they're getting education and healthcare. That's going to stop right away, as well as the train to nowhere. All those are wasteful expenditures we don't need to take on, but we have to focus on Californians first. I want Californians to have
I was
First
born in
president of the
Sacramento. Where were you born,
Los
Leo?
Angeles.
So you're born in Sacramento, right? So.
No, Los Angeles.
Oh yeah. Excuse me, California.
I'm a fourth generation. My family's been here for over 120 years.
Wow. So you're California through and through. What have you heard of these? There's two dueling movements here now. There's one movement that wants secession from the Union, Cal Exit, they're called, and another movement called New California that wants to create a new state a la West Virginia. Have you heard of these two movements? Any thoughts, comments on these two?
I understand why people are feeling like that, because they don't feel that they're being represented appropriately by government, and they're not getting the results that they should be entitled to with the mismanagement and the poor leadership that we have. So I understand their feelings for that. But the reality is California can only be the successful place it will be, it could be, and has been if all those counties stay together, because all those counties have different resources and elements that they bring to the table. I mean, Fresno County is the #1 ag county in the entire nation. But
the argument is you got LA County and Bay Area, and those are the population centers, and whichever way, and they control the vote basically with the large population they have. And so like us here in the Central Valley, we say, well, it don't matter what, because it's more conservative, obviously, agriculture, rural. And so it's like more right-wing leaning, more Republican leaning. And they say, well, your guys, you don't count because those guys in those liberal areas have way more votes. And so they dictate how it's going to be.
Well, look, you guys still have a voice, and it's important that you vote in good people into the state legislature and into the.
They have a super majority here now, and
that's okay.
And they're coming up with it's going to be on the ballot very deceptively here to gerrymander again and redraw the districts one more time.
Well, that's a violation of the Constitution. What they're doing with that's illegal. That violates our state constitution, what they're doing. And it's a giant waste of money. But look, you guys in the Central Valley do have a voice, but you need to get out and vote. You can't be discouraged. I hate when Republicans, are like, we're never going to win. What's the point? And you guys don't even try. Well, you're 100% going to lose that way. Look, I'm an ice hockey player, and the greatest hockey player of all time said this: you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So you need to get activated, you need to get informed, and you need to vote. But you need to vote not just focusing on the big title spots. You need to vote down ballot. You need to vote for your school board. You need to vote for your city council members. You need to vote for your central committee. Take an active role in that and help change the state party from within.
Speaking of that, what do you think of what do you think of rigged elections? Now Newsom says that Trump is rigging the elections. The Democrat Party in this state has the elections. What do we got? Ballot harvesting, voting machines, mail-in ballots. They don't count the freaking vote till they give them like 30 days to count the votes. Like every kind of which way you could rig it, twist it, manipulate it. The Democrats have done it here in California. So that is like demoralizing to quote democracy and thinking that your vote even matters.
Well, we're a constitutional republic. I hate when people throw
allegedly we are.
We don't use the D word. It's constitutional republic. Okay. Look,
I say that because they constantly scream democracy, right?
Yeah, that means
I understand that.
Democracy is the fancy way of saying mob rule.
Yeah, well,
okay, look, it's a constitutional republic. I know that we have,
but they don't operate. The government doesn't operate that way.
But again, look, it's a man-made problem, and it requires a man-made solution. Okay, it's a representative government. They're supposed to represent you. So you, as a citizen out there, need to do your part and vote and be informed and talk about these things. We've been indoctrinated not to talk about politics and not talk about religion. Have these conversations. Vote for your city council members. Get good people elected to the state representatives and state senators. They're out there. They need your help.
I do believe on the local level we may be able to force some change by pressuring your local representative, city council, so on. What do you? Okay, let's say this scenario. Let's say you win, and then you're a Republican. What are you even? What's your affiliation you're running under?
Oh, I'm running as a Republican.
Republican. Okay, so you win as a Republican governor. you have a supermajority Democrat legislature. They're gonna, you're directly going. They're gonna block all of your agenda,
I get
right?
this question a lot. And
Yeah.
look, here's what's going on. This is what's happening. Okay. You're a Democrat, you're an idiot, you're a Republican, you're a racist, and that's the end of the conversation. Nobody's actually having real discourse anymore. Okay. Look, I might be running as a Republican, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be the Republican governor for Republicans exclusively. No, I'm here to be the governor for everybody. I have chosen to be a Republican. I have conservative values. I believe in small government. I believe in ending bureaucratic overreach here. We have to have it small. So I want to build a real personal relationship with everybody elected to the legislative body and understand and break bread with them and sit down one-on-one and get to know who they are and really understand what makes them tick and build real rapport with these people and get them to understand that this isn't about party anymore. This is about things not working, and we're all on the same team, and that's Team California. So that's what I want to make very clear to the people in Sacramento. And look, if they're not willing to get on board and they're going to be obstinate and all this stuff, and it's really simple, you just expose them. We have the technology. I want to be able to speak to everybody in the state every week from my desk and give them a heads up and, fill them in on what's going on, what we're trying to do. I want to have single subject bills, and we can say, look, hey, these are the people that aren't passing these bills that are going to help you. This is who they are. This is the areas that they represent. Hey, people in these areas, you need to get on their butts and tell them to get it together or they're gone.
Are you going to get?
And also we have executive orders. Don't forget that. I can use that and declare states of emergency, and they come with that all sorts of powers. I'm not trying to abuse it, but you know what?
Well, that's a segue to law and order. What do you think about Trump rolling out the National Guard there in Los Angeles?
I mean, look, we wouldn't have to have Trump do it if our leaders actually just did the right thing and stopped these violent riots from taking place in the first place. And God forbid we don't have enough resources to handle something like that, then I would absolutely welcome it. But it shouldn't have to take the president of the United States to bring law and order in. Our own leaders like Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom should be doing the right thing and empowering our police to stop these violent protests. We should have laws in place like Governor DeSantis put in Florida.
What do we do about corrupt police? Shouldn't corrupt police, shouldn't they get in trouble? I would say worse, because they're entrusted by the public with the gun and the badge to be the authority. And if they turn around and be corrupt and break the law, shouldn't they be punished even worse than your regular citizen? Because we elevate them and give them that status?
Yes, of course. But it's about accountability and consequences, and we're not doing either of those things right now. But you know what helps? Transparency. Transparency is the best thing. Sunlight will absolutely be the big fix for this. I look forward to bringing transparency to every aspect in this state. I want people to be able to go to a state website where they can use an AI and interact with it and ask about what's going on with this, who's spending what. I want to have a purchasing department. Anytime we give money to these different departments, I want them to have to, if they want to make an expense, the purchasing department has to approve it. That's what any company has. You have a purchasing department. They don't. They get a blank check, not a blank check. They get their amount of money, and it's like spend it all or you don't get as much or more next year. So
you're not going to get in there and just be corrupt, and all your buddies in the poultry industry are going to get giant government contracts.
Dude, I don't need the money. I really don't. I don't need this job. I don't need this headache.
I don't think Newsom does either. He's like no. He's the unofficial stepson of the Gettys. He's a kabillion.
I know that. He also went to Klaus Schwab School for Future World Leaders. I know. He's a globalist. He's pushing the agenda 2030. So there you go.
He doesn't need it either, but he has this
no.
Power.
That's the whole thing. It's power, and they want control, and it's this Marxist globalist agenda, and I'm not afraid to talk about that stuff. I know a lot about it. Very versed on it. So I will openly expose and talk about these things. Look, again, it's about doing the right thing. Okay. And everybody's fed up with this crap. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the lies. And so are you. Everybody out there.
I have a hard, well, we did see reform there in San Francisco and Oakland. San Francisco did a bunch of elections, kicking out their mayor. Oakland kicked out their mayor, city councils, and so on. So it's like even the quote big liberal places that they tell us, even them have had too much of these corrupt Democrats in there just destroying everything basically with their
people are
horrible
smarter.
policies.
Look. People are smarter than this. They know when something's really, really wrong. And so they have the power now to get somebody who has a real plan to turn this place around. And I'm not here to make a career out of this. See, that's the other thing.
Are you lobbying for because I believe, and sadly, the only way you have to have an endorsement of one of the two major political parties to be a real contender. Are you lobbying, and do you think you have a chance to get the GOP endorsement here in California?
Oh, of course I have a chance. Look, the reality is, though, is that it's the two parties are.
Who's the other big, right now we just got this British guy, Steve Hilton. He's the only other big name I see out there.
Well, that's because Fox News is pushing him. But look, don't forget Fox News, these major media outlets, they're the same ones that told us, everything was above board in the 2020 election, that, oh, COVID is really dangerous and we're all going to die and go get that injection. Do you really still trust these mainstream outlets? No, they're all talking heads. And don't forget, he abandoned his home country. Okay.
That guy's not even from California. He's a
just became a citizen 2 years ago. Okay. Look, he was basically the equivalent of one of the secretaries to the president. Okay. And he had this, like he essentially had influence over there.
It just feels like the GOP.
Hold on. He had this influence over there that he could have used to make his country better. And the ideas that he developed with David Cameron, who was a horrible prime minister, helped usher in this wave of destruction that's taking place in the UK. Okay. And he abandoned his country and he thinks he can come here and be the governor in California. It's insulting. I'm sorry. No, you're not from California. You don't know this place and you're not a conservative.
Yeah. And well, you're Fox. It feels like if the GOP endorses him, he's just going to be another ringer.
He's not going to win. The Democrats will win.
That's what I'm saying. He'll be a ringer. And then
of course, but our GOP is a problem. It's corrupt. They don't care. They've made money.
It feels like they are happy with the Harlem Globetrotters game we got going on. The Democrats being the Harlem Globetrotters, Republicans being the Washington Generals, and they go play the fake game and throw the game. And of course, the Harlem Globetrotters always win, i.e., the Democrats.
Look, the playing field has changed. Technology has evolved. Voters and people and citizens are more connected than ever. And look, just because Fox News says anything doesn't mean it's the God's honest truth or it's what you should believe.
No, they're just as bad fake news as any of the rest of the corporate media.
Of course. But look, the point I'm making is I've been around elected officials for a long time. I started going and seeing all this stuff when I was 15. I became a board member for the Poultry Federation when I was 18. I did that for a decade. Okay. And when I was a young boy and I learned this stuff and a young adult, I got to see how stupid and incompetent all these people are elected are and how little they care about you or your business or your family or your livelihood. And let me tell you, those are the same people that the major news outlets were all waving in front of us saying, these are the best and brightest. No, they're not. No, they're not.
It's democracy, Leo. Okay, let's we covered most of we did not cover most of the issues here. Back to energy quickly. What about energy? I know you briefly mentioned nuclear power for
small modular nuclear power plants to have a robust system where you don't have to worry about brownouts and blackouts.
Because PG&E, who is your power provider? Is it PG&E or Edison? Both are just like off the chart.
Well, we have to find a way to break up these monopolies.
Let me tell you this, Leo. Not many people know this. I don't know if you're familiar with Palantir.
I hate Palantir. And
well, they're running the California energy grid. It's right on their website. Both PG&E and Southern Cal Edison are using Foundry operating system by Palantir. So you may want to look into that because it's extremely concerning that the surveillance AI company is controlling California's power grid, essentially.
Look, the globalists have infested almost every level of our government, if not every level of our government. You know, I have very big concerns. You know, Trump is trying, I guess. He just got some bad globalists around him. It's very plain to see.
Medical freedom. What do we do in this state? We have SB 277. I don't know. We can't even talk about it on YouTube. They still censor you, but it's mandated that all children in California to attend school have to have all of the injections on the CDC schedule there. That's a major point of medical freedom. And also, they haven't really, it hasn't been a big thing, but in 2016, California passed a law, physician-assisted suicide, and the MAIDS program in Canada, it's over 20. I forget even the latest numbers, but like last year, medical assistance and dying program in Canada killed over 20,000 people, and we have that same law here on the books in California. Physician assistance and dying, essentially, I could see them really cranking that up. So tell us what you're going to do to reform medical freedom here in California, as it feels very oppressive, especially after medical intervention that we all lived through the last 5 years. You had to live in California to understand how truly oppressive it was.
Oh, well, I have, and
I know you have, but I'm talking to our audience out there that doesn't live in California.
Well, look, I don't want people having to do this mandatory injections or anything like that. Like, you have the right to pick and choose what goes into your child's body, and it shouldn't be mandatory for anybody to do that. This assisted suicide stuff it's crazy. Look, but you know what? It's really, think about it, really what the root cause is. It's depression. Okay, it's a lot of depression, and look how many drugs that people are taking. This country takes the most pharmaceutical drugs out of any country. We're one of 2 countries in the whole world that allows it to be advertised on television. It's us and New Zealand.
That ties back to the homeless crisis. A big part of why these people are strung out largely on opiates, fentanyl, heroin, whatever. Pick your opiate derivative. At one time, they got a prescription for oxycodone or some type of opiate pill, and they wound up getting addicted to that due to
heroin. It's basically heroin.
It's heroin, opiate, right? And so anyway, they got addicted to it through a prescription from their doctor, a lot of these people, and then wound up, they got cut off for whatever reason. Then they had to go to the streets. They got their heroin, fentanyl, so on. And then it's just a downward spiral into homelessness and so on. But that ties back into the large drug problem that I do agree with you. Americans have the most drug nation in the world by far.
Yes.
So how do we get it through the general public's head? Hey, you don't need to be taking antidepressants.
What really helps people not feel like crap all the time is when they can actually keep the money that they earn, and they don't feel like they're working towards nothing, and that there is an opportunity for them to be able to be homeowners.
That is a big stress.
Start a family at some point, because my generation and younger, they don't think that they have the opportunity to ever own a home or to be able to start a family. So there's a lot of disillusionment right there. And so people start living these hedonistic lifestyles, and it's very unfulfilling. So they lose purpose. You need people to have purpose. So you need to create an environment where people can have the ability to create for themselves. I want to create opportunity for people. Like I mentioned, updating the state website and having an AI where they can interact with. I want them to be able to go on there and say, I want to start a restaurant, or I want to build a pool or an addition to my home, or I want to get
they still haven't let the people there in Pacific Palisades even start rebuilding.
It's ridiculous. It's a land grab, and we all know that. But getting back to what I'm talking about here, creating opportunity. Okay, I want people to be able to go to the state website, interact with a Grok like AI, and be able to say, I want to start this restaurant or whatever. And it gives you all the forms that you need to fill out, and you can fill them out online and submit electronically. And if you mess up somewhere, it tells you where you messed up, and then you can make the corrections and resubmit it. And it will instantly tell you if you've been approved or not. And if you've been approved, it'll say the inspector will come out at this date and time. See you then. And make it so, and eliminate the barriers to entry, and fast track the possibilities for people to be independent business owners and wealth creators. We need to grow the middle class. We need people to be able to have an environment where they can keep the money that they earn. They're not being taxed into oblivion, and regulations go out of the way so people can then have the ability to create those jobs and that wealth, and then be able to own the homes that are affordable.
So you want the government to actually help people and not oppress them? That's a revolutionary idea. Right? Yes. Okay. On to constitutional rights. What's constitutional rights? They don't honor those here in California.
Freedom of speech, your Second Amendment. Those are a couple of basic ones right there. You can't have the first without the second. There's no doubt about that. I believe in constitutional carry. An armed populace is a polite populace. I think less people will be inclined to FAFO, as they say. And I'm an avid gun owner. I own like 20 something firearms at least. and I like to go shooting, and I'm responsible. We need to teach responsible gun ownership, and I think it starts at an early age that you need to respect things like that. It's a tool, you tell your kids don't play with the stove. You should teach them how to responsibly use the stove. You don't want them to, abuse a firearm. Teach them responsible firearm usage. It's that simple.
Leo, what do we do? What do we do about the corruption? Because it's literally everywhere. No one ever gets in trouble for
it's
scandal after scandal after scandal.
Right, it's transparency. I want
but we already know about a lot of scandals, and no one still
but it's about follow the money, right? So anytime
high-speed rail is the perfect. It's the
a
landmark to corruption here now.
Exactly. Right? That's what I say. It's the biggest money laundering scam that's ever taken place in this state. Look, again, that state website I want to redevelop and have an AI. Anytime that an agency or a department or whatever is making an expense, I want people to be able to go and say, I want to see the balance sheet or the statement, or whatever for whatever department, right? I want to see the balance sheet for Fish and Game or the Riverside County Sheriff's Department or whatever, right? And it'll just display it to them. These aren't government secrets. These aren't nuclear top secret developments. Okay. There's no secrets here in California. There's no reason for it. So I want people to be able to have that level of transparency so they can do their own independent audits and monitoring of how their money is being spent. So that transparency and having all those eyes watching all their expenses is really going to cut down on that. And I want to open up the ability for people to have bids on construction projects. That way we can not only get things done more efficiently, but we can get them done cheaper. They're still building the 5 freeway down here in Los Angeles. They've been working on that thing since I was in high school. It's still not done. Obviously, the bullet train to nowhere, it was supposed to go LA to San Francisco. Now it goes from Bakersfield to Merced. They've only built maybe 20 miles of stuff. Maybe it's all a scam. We have to stop that stuff. The homeless, all the money that goes out to these homeless organizations, the $25 billion or whatever we just spent. We got 50% more homeless. Okay, that money needs to be accounted for at every step of the way, and no more are we going to let waste like that happen. Again, it's the transparency that is key.
Is your administration going to throw corrupt government officials in jail finally?
Absolutely.
Or we want total due process.
Due process for sure. But when convicted, you're going to face real time and have real consequences, and you have to make an example out of those people because it sets the precedence that if you do this, you're going to get caught and it ain't going to be good.
It needs to happen. Punishment, because it keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Absolutely. It's the same thing that I don't want people sitting on death row. I want people, if you're convicted and sentenced to death, you shouldn't be sitting on death row forever.
And then finally, the balanced budget. What is that? They play games constantly. I've been watching it for a very long time. They play games with the budget here in California. They come out with these, grandiose numbers. We're doing so great. We're the number one economy, blah, blah, all this. And then they always revise it back down again. And, by the way, we're in debt. And we're going to have to raise your taxes a little bit here and there. But it's going to be okay because it's going to poor children. You know what I mean?
Like I mentioned, it's about creating additional revenue streams. Right now, the state exclusively takes in its money through taxation. That's why I want to be able to create a water abundance so we can use that resource as a revenue generator. I want to have a logging company come in and help glean the forest and eradicate
the spotted owls, Leo. The spotted owls.
Hold on. Look,
but they burned them all up in the fire. But
I know. Let me please. Look, we have an invasive bark beetle that needs to be eradicated. Okay. A logging industry will help with that. They're going to glean the forest, not do clear cutting. Okay. And that will also help get rid of the underbrush and prevent many of the dangerous and destructive fires that we have. So you get revenue from the logging industry, you get revenue from the water abundance, you get revenue from generating the oil industry here, getting that going, drilling it here, extracting it here, refining it here, using it here. That all creates money and jobs. And then utilizing CAL FIRE as a means to go bring in extra revenue by building out a robust CAL FIRE and having the greatest and latest equipment. And with the wildfires being mitigated by the underbrush clearing that we'll be doing, we can then use them to go and fight fires in other places. And that brings money into the state. I want to have remote firefighting AI drone stations all scattered throughout our wildlands. So when smoke or fire is detected, they can easily take off and go and extinguish it before it spreads into this catastrophe that can be so expensive and destructive. So I have means and solutions in place that can create additional revenue streams. So when you have
So
all
you're not going to
surplus
use crises to increase your power?
No. Look, I'm here to lead by example, okay? That's like I'm just like I said before, I'm sick of the lies, I'm sick of the corruption. I'm a regular guy, okay? I just want my home state to be a place where I can raise a family. My 90-year-old grandmother can live out the rest of her life comfortably in the dream home that her and my grandfather worked so hard to have. I want to be able to start a family here and show her some great grandchildren. I want to be able to do that. But the way things are going here, it's a certain impossibility. So I want to do the right thing. I'm not here to make a career out of this. I'm here to do my job and fix this place. And then I want to go back to my life because I got a lot of other things and goals and aspirations I'd really like to go and accomplish. And being in government ain't going to do it for me.
Wow, Leo, appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. Everybody go to his website, leozacky.com. I hope we can, there it is right there. He was at CPAC. He has a video of his speech there. All the issues we went over a lot of them right there. I hope we can check back in with you as this campaign progresses and see how you're doing.
Well, I'd love to earn your vote and the support and the votes of your audience. Look, we're all in this together. I'm funding a lot of this myself. Like I said, I'm in for over $1 million in this. I'll keep going.
Where can people right there at the bottom, right?
Just go to the website. Look, if 1 million people gave me $5, that'd be $5 million. We can do a hell of a lot of good with that. Look, I'm in this for you guys. Okay. Please don't expect me to fund this all on my own because, I want you guys to want me in there, but please understand that just because you see some shiny object or somebody who's been in some position or is an elected office doesn't make them qualified. You need somebody who understands the state, is from the state, has the business background and understanding of that. I've got plans for bringing back Hollywood and making sure that Silicon Valley has the tools needed to grow here. We have all the things we need except competent leadership. That's what I'm bringing. I'm bringing a plan. Please give me that opportunity, folks. It's for you.
Awesome, Leo. We appreciate your efforts. Again, go to leozacky.com. You can give him a donation right there. And as he said, he's not a politician. He's going to go do the job, clean up some corruption, and then go back home and go about his life as it should be and not make a career out of this whole thing. Thank you, Leo, and hope to have you back on as the campaign develops. We'll talk to you soon. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening, and we'll see you back here tomorrow on Friday for